What's up, everybody? My name is Brian Mertz, and today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to shoot better video content. If you like what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, do all the things. And also, I do stream on Twitch. I will have the link for that, the little thing right here. I don't know. Regardless. So the most important thing whenever you're shooting anything is understand whenever you go to edit it, what the vibe is going to be. You got to make sure that everything that you shoot matches up with that, and you're not just shooting things to shoot. You need to understand what type of connection you're trying to make with your audience. If you're shooting a horror movie, then maybe you want to make them feel cramped and uncomfortable, and just that real gritty. Just think like House of a Thousand Corpses by Rob Zombie. That movie is fantastic at just making you feel just so crammed in and claustrophobic. And there are times, even like in the editing, where he will drag a shot out just to make you feel that much more uncomfortable. So when you go to shoot your stuff, make sure that you're keeping that in mind. Understanding your vibe is everything. And if you're shooting like a real aesthetic and slow moving and real cinematic kind of film, then make sure that you're utilizing things like camera movement and knowing, if I move my camera this way at this speed, then it conveys this kind of like floaty, dreamy emotion. It all comes back to understanding the vibe of the piece that you're going for. If you don't make that connection, then you will screw everything else up. It doesn't matter how many of the rules of cinematography that you follow, there's going to be a disconnect, and you don't want that. Number 2, composition. Whenever you're shooting something, understand, just basic things like rule of thirds. Like if I'm shooting for YouTube, then it's more of a straight on shot like this. However, if I wanted to shoot a dialogue scene. Okay, Future Brian here. I'm going to try and explain this a little bit better than I did when I first filmed this. It was a mess. Basically, whenever you're shooting a dialogue scene, how you frame up your people and how you cut between the takes matters, because if you screw this part up, then it's easy to get lost in the conversation and it just looks disconnected, and it turns into a mess fast. You want to make sure that you pay attention to composition, because that does convey emotion simply off the placement of your subject within the frame. It also allows you as an editor, when you're going in and cutting up the whatever piece you're working on, it allows you to kind of guide the viewer's eyes through the shots. Movies like Mad Max, that's one of the biggest things that they do in those crazy action scenes, is if you trace the subject across the screen through that, then it will literally walk you through the action and what's going on. Even though you're having 1,000 fast cuts, because of the composition, because of how they place their subject in the scene, it allows your brain to follow what's going on. So even if you have more of a high stress, fast paced piece, then you can still, the viewer keeps up without even realizing it. Number 3 is pretty simple. It's just lighting. Make sure that you understand, your basic concepts of lighting. Like even like right here, I have a key light right here. I have a fill light on this side over here. And then right here, even though, yes, I've got it there to look nice in frame, it's also there to light my hair. And it keeps me framed, and it keeps me well lit in the shot, just so that I can make a video like this. Now, every shot is different. And again, according to whatever vibe of the piece that you're going for is going to determine the type of lighting. But you do need to learn your basics in lighting just so that you can understand how to put everything together. Number 4 is depth. You don't always get the opportunity. Sometimes you do just have to shoot against a bland, flat back wall, like right behind your subject. But if you have the ability to, bring your subject forward. Even right now, I'm not sitting directly at my desk. I'm a little bit in front of it to kind of create the depth between me and everything behind me. It works a lot better especially when you're shooting stuff like B-roll. Just creating that you have something that's in the foreground, something that's your subject behind that object, and then something that's even farther in the back, which would be in your background. You want to create 3 layers of depth in as many shots as you can, and it will naturally make your work look that much more professional, cinematic. Overall, it will bring your piece that one step up above that. And last up, number 5 is B-roll. I cannot tell you how boring a video like this would be if I just stayed on the same exact shot and never left it. Yes, talking heads are cool and they're great for certain things, but even when someone's talking, if you can show instead of tell, then it does that much more in keeping your viewer engaged. Think about every Netflix documentary that you've ever seen when, if you have a subject that's sitting there and talking about, this story about, oh, when I was a little kid, we used to go to church on the weekends and all this other stuff. Imagine if they just stayed on them and it was just like this. How awkward and uncomfortable is that for them to just stay focused on, like, when they're telling a story? And I'll give you that same example. If someone's sitting there and talking to you and they're like, oh, when I was a little kid, my parents and I used to go to church on the weekends every week. It was a family time thing. All right, now I'll play that clip twice. Once without B-roll. When I was a little kid, my parents and I used to go to church on the weekends every week. It was a family time thing. And once with B-roll. When I was a little kid, my parents and I used to go to church on the weekends every week. It was a family time thing. Now you tell me, when you're watching something like that, which one's more interesting? If I can talk, even if it has nothing, like if it's not the actual church that your subject went and talked to, if you just show the viewer a church, it brings the story together in a way that took little to no effort, and just like that, you elevate it up to the next level. So that's my 5 tips on just how to make your video content just a little bit more interesting. Again, if you guys like what you saw, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment on the video. Let me know. I'm trying to engage with as many people as I can. Also, I do stream on Twitch, like I said earlier. Come on, jump into a stream sometime. Whether I'm playing video games or if I'm working on an edit for something, it doesn't matter. I love sitting and talking about all this stuff. I could literally talk for hours about it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.